Okay. I know. I'm just talking to myself. Doesn't really bother me, but we last left off on this little journey. We were playing at there she goes. We were playing as Shogo Okie, and we were trying to figure out a little bit more about the Rite of Resurrection and the Seven Mysteries of Honjo, which we really learned are more than 7. Let's see. After a few trials and errors of dying to multiple different curses, dying to multiple different curses, we come across a bunch of different curse bearers who are all after the same thing. If you have a curse, you can use said curse to try to kill. Let me turn that up a little bit. To kill. There we go. To kill other curse bearers, so you can get soul drags, which is, as they explain it, the remnants of a soul after you die. So you fill up your curse stone with those soul drags. Once the soul drags reach 100%, then you can revive somebody. Well, we had killed a bunch of people. We filled up our soul canister thingy, and then we died. After we died, the storyteller pulled us back and was like, hey, so here's a story chart, have fun, this is what is actually going on. And so then we replay the story from where we started in the park and with Yoko, and we have a different outcome. Instead of looking away from Yoko and pressing the push button, instead what we do is we yell at Yoko, talk to Yoko, until she finally snaps out of whatever she has going on with her. And after that, we put her into a taxi. The taxi leaves. Next thing we hear is a news broadcast talking about how they found the body of a 20-year-old man named Shogo Okie in the park, who seemingly drowned, so they know it was from it was foul play. It wasn't, boy didn't just drown, it was foul play. And so after that, we unlock the rest of the story chart, where we meet 3 different characters that are our actual protagonists. The hardened cop we met earlier, the woman who burned us alive, and the high school girl that we did not get much out of before we just straight up murdered her. And that's where we are. We're going through the story chart, playing everything, seeing how we can help these characters on their story and everything fun like that. But yeah, that is where we left off, and that is where we shall continue. Alright. Well, we shall get on with this, I think. Dun, 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 dun. Alright. So these are our 3 actual protagonists. Harue Shigima, Tetsuo Susumi, and Yako Sakazaki. So this is the high school girl that we killed the moment she walked away from us, because of course we did. Harue Shigima, we met her briefly, but we learned that she was working with Richter when we died to her, because he was off in the distance. So it was clear our meeting with Richter was not by chance earlier in the day. Then we have Tetsuo, who we know is a cop, who apparently now we learn is also a curse bearer. He wasn't just a regular cop checking out weird stuff. He was also a curse bearer. Yeah, let's start with Harue, because she's the first one that's showing up. Not dreams. Harue Shigima. When the son of Harue Shigima was kidnapped, a botched investigation by the police resulted in the child's murder. 1 year later, Harue has hired a private investigator to help resolve the unsettled case. Late at night... Ooh, Freya. Kitty cat. Not right now. 1 year later, Harue has hired a private investigator to help resolve the unsettled case. Late at night, while speaking to the detective at her home, something strange suddenly appears. Ooh. We're just cut straight into it? Okay. May those who mock fire's flame perish in flame. Kill them. Kill them. The flame bearers. Kill them all. You have acquired the power of the curse stone, the haunting clappers. You can use it to kill those with fire or a fire-starting device on their person. Press the use curse button to set your target alight. Files updated. Let's see. So this is just telling us more about it. Kills by burning one who is in possession of fire or fire-starting device. And then we'll read the story later. Once we get past this. A murderous impulse seeps into my soul like thick black tar. Now. Kill. Can you hear it, curse bearer? You who so strongly desires the right, kill them. Harue Shigima, 12 a.m. Well, just, doing some more murder. Shigima Mansion reception room. Back with me, ma'am? Yes, Richter. Hi, Richter. Good to see you, bro. Hate that you betrayed me. Can't say I understand what just happened, but it certainly seems to have put you in a good mood. This might be the first time I've ever seen you really smile. Is she smiling? Sweet dreams. Housewife, Harue Shigima. Persons of interest updated. Let's see. That's a lot. Let's go. Sex, female, occupation, housewife, curse echo, the haunting clappers. Harue is a housewife who resides in a manor near Shumoku Bridge. Her 11-year-old son, Suichi, was kidnapped and murdered about a year ago. The death was the result of a mistake on the part of the detective assigned to the case. A mistake which enraged the kidnapper and had him cut off all contact with the police, leaving no room for negotiation. The incident was covered up, and Suichi's killer remains at large, leading the aggravated Harue to call on the services of a private investigator, Richter Kai, to uncover the truth. The Shigima family came from a line of samurai who built their residence in Honjo during the Edo period. They assumed important positions in the police force following the Meiji Revolution, thereby protecting their family's elevated status. Even today, many in the Shigima line work as police bureaucrats and senior police officers. Haruhe's father sits in the upper echelons of the National Police Agency, and her husband, adopted into the Shigima clan through an arranged marriage, is also a highly respected agency official. However, As her family prioritizes work above all else, it wasn't long before Haruhe's marriage grew cold. Though she wants for nothing, she's isolated from her neighbors and withdrawn from society. Seeing her son grow into a young man gave Haruhe a purpose in life, but it was cut short by the kidnapping incident. Following the incident, Haruhe spent many days in a deep depression, breaking into sudden fits of shouting and wandering around in the middle of the night. Her cheerful, loving disposition faded away, and she took to making snide remarks at her husband, which only further soured their relationship. A few months ago, Haruhe's husband was transferred to another area for work and now rarely returns home, with Haruhe left to live in the large, empty mansion alone. As a housekeeper who has been with the family for a long time comes in to take care of all the housework, Haruhe has nothing but time on her hands. No. Not dreams. Sounds like something I might want to hear about. Interesting. Oh, what is this? Well, I'll be damned. Is that what I think it is? Goodness, you made me jump. It's just a silly little sticker my son got from somewhere or other. He put it up just before. Well, you know what happened. I still can't bring myself to bring it down. Let me take a closer look. I knew it. It's Honjo from way back in set number 1. This is a real collector's item. Excuse me? Don't tell me you've never heard of the mockingbirds. The what? They're the hottest new craze. Cute little birds dressed up like rough and tumble delinquents. I've never heard of them, but this certainly seems to matter to you. The best part is, nobody knows who made them. They just started showing up around town, and soon enough, they'd won everybody's hearts. The story goes that they're made by some anonymous artist who covertly leaves them behind in specific locations. No one knows when or where they'll show up next. They're basically an urban legend of sorts. To think one would turn up here of all places, this is a good sign, I'm sure of it. Oh, well, that's nice. Mockingbird number 1 discovered. What is this? Oh my god, there's so many. Approach the net. A bottom shelf surrounded by darkness. Jackpot. Late at night on the way home. Look up at the first house. Among the morning green. Before hearing the history. In the bright garden if you won the lottery. Wait until you feel like yourself again. Detective and private eyes. A ringing telephone booth. The excited detective. Waiting at the entrance in a park where sparrows sing. Waiting at the intersection on a bridge pillar at night. A unique looking playground. Revisiting the park at night. Interesting? What? Mocking. Oh, okay, that's weird. Okay. We didn't read it, so let's read this story. Red, red, red. Everything has dyed crimson. My home is burning to the ground. It's so hot. I must call for help, but I cannot speak. My throat must be burned up from the smoke. No, I think I'm already on fire. That's right, I'll just use the clappers. Clack, clack, is anybody there? Clack, clack, why is no one coming? I'm going to burn to death. How did it come to this? Oh, right, her. It must be the work of that vixen who appeared suddenly and enchanted my lord. That witch. Those hauntingly cold eyes had my lord dancing in the palm of her hand. Perhaps I was also taken in by her. How many innocent people did I lure in under orders? This must be karma. The sound of a heavy bell. It feels like may heed my bleh. It feels like my head will split open. Jesus. Typo. Right, the evening bell. That must be why nobody can hear the sound of my clappers. I've got to do it louder. Clack, clack. Interesting. Stereo. A stereo unit with separated speakers designed for home use. My husband insisted on buying one, even though he isn't one to listen to music often. An arrangement of flowers. We bring in someone to do it. I don't even know what the flowers are called. An old hanging scroll. I don't know who painted it. It's been hanging here since before I was born. A fax machine. It can send images to other places along the telephone network. I don't really know how it works. Most houses don't have one. I rarely find a use for it. A color television. Father bought one as soon as it hit the market. He likes to have the latest gadgets. Unlike the latest models, there's no remote control. We've had it for a long time. Back when it was new, we all gathered around it and marveled at it as a family. But with Father and my husband being away so often, it quickly fell into disuse. I think. Clock. The swinging of the pendulum echoes through the room. It feels livelier than usual with Richter here. Usually it's just me. The lights. The chandelier is the only thing in here that's my choice. It's my favorite part of the room. Damn. Private investigator I hired. A friend told me about him. They said he's not very well known, but he's good at what he does. When I first visited his office in Oda City and saw how he dressed, I could hardly believe he was a detective. But after talking to him for a while, I changed my mind. He says some strange things at times, but he seems like the reliable sort. Okay. Whoa, okay. Sex, male, occupation, private investigator, Cruz Echo, none. The eccentric man that Shogo Oke ran into at Hoanji Bridge. Richter is actually a private investigator with an office in Oda City, Tokyo. After taking on a request from Harue Shigima to investigate the unsolved kidnapping and murder of her son, he gets caught up in the events surrounding the rite of resurrection. Once a police officer, Richter was racked with guilt over the police's inability to help all those in need, and quit the force to start his own private investigation firm. However, his soft-hearted nature leads him to take on too many cases, and has put his office in dire financial straits. How he is still in business is a mystery, with some whispering that a wealthy patron is keeping him afloat. Richter studied alongside Detective Jun Irio at the police academy. Somewhat surprisingly, given his outlandish clothing and mannerisms, Richter excels at covert investigations entailing his targets. Interesting. I find it fun that he actually knows one of the other characters, other than Harue, which is fun. So, that's gonna be fun to explore later. Okay. Yes, he probably refers to himself as an investigator extraordinaire, though that only ever succeeds at impressing himself. Richter's biggest source of happiness is nuzzling his pet female albino parakeet. Oh, I don't know how to say that name, which he keeps in his office. He also enjoys collecting mockingbird stickers, a popular line of merchandise featuring birds and explicitly dressed like delinquents. He can be frequently sighted searching around town for them. While out and about, Richter typically leaves the office, and more importantly, Ernestine in the care of Amamori, a junior high schooler who volunteered to assist Richter after being involved in a previous case. That is adorable. Files up. What? Oh, okay. This is about his agency. Richter Kai's private investigation firm in Kamada, Oda City. Originally, Kai thought to give it a simple name like Kai's detective agency, but upon hearing that people are more likely to pick names listed at the front of the phone book alphabetically, he decided to pick a name starting with A. Thus, the Azure Heron Agency was established. However, it is questionable whether the heron, a bird of somewhat ominous significance, is an effective symbol for attracting customers. Even his own assistant has referred to the name as confusing at best. After all, rather than an azure heron, Richter keeps a white parrot as a pet and dresses not in blue, but mostly in white. If there was a symbolic connection to be made here, it has surely been lost on all but Richter himself. A private investigator, also known as a private eye, is a detective who operates their own agency. Although there are no formal qualifications necessary to become a private investigator, many are retired police agents or detectives due to similarities between the work involved. At a glance, private investigation firms and inquiry offices might look similar, but they carry out different types of investigations. Inquiry offices specialize in conducting credit checks on businesses, while private investigators are generally involved in tailing persons of interest and gaining information surreptitiously. Yep, that's a word. So, Britta. Alright, let's talk, Richter. Let me bring you up to speed. We were in the middle of a chat when you suddenly started spacing out. And the whole time you were grinning to yourself like you just won the lottery. Care to tell me what that was about?
Well, where to start? Interesting.
Very interesting. So the haunting clapper's curse echo appeared out of nowhere. Told you how to perform the rite of resurrection and gave you the curse you'll need to do it. Have I got that right?
That's right.
So it's all real. Honestly, I still find it hard to believe. But I guess I have to now. Woo! I saw that curse stone appear in your hand myself. It looked like it popped clean out of thin air. I want these. Like, if I could have these, like, as an actual thing in real life. Not, like, with the curse attached, but, like, just the actual, like, carving. With evidence that clear, there's no denying that there's some supernatural force at work. Alright. Talk to him again. I don't think you quite understand. Oh? This isn't about evidence, and it isn't about belief. Oh, has this not been capturing the whole fucking time? Oh, there it goes. But no, my mom called me, so of course I had to leave. Because, of course, she would call me at, like, the worst possible moment. And I realized I didn't put any sound on. That's on me. Whoopsie daisies. Sorry about that. Alright, back to it. I know it's real. The moment the curse appeared, I knew everything before it even said a word. It was already there in my head, as clear as day. You just knew, huh? It was etched onto my soul, along with the curse echoes resentful memories. So I can feel it, what it was like. Dying like they did, hundreds of years ago. Wreathed in flame, writhing in pain, as my flesh blackens and my blood boils. I can feel it. All the agony, all the rage. It fills me with bloodlust. I think I need to kill someone. Anyone will do, just as long as they're carrying fire. I see. That could be a problem. You think so? From what I know of you, I was sure you'd see it as an opportunity. The stronger the desire to resurrect someone, the stronger the urge to kill. That's how it seems to me, anyway. Good grief. Talk about a spanner in the works. I say we take stock for a moment. Remind ourselves where we've come from and where we're going. That might be a good idea. Oh, it was her. That might be a good idea. My heart is still racing. This is it, my chance at long last. See if there's anything different. I don't think so. About the investigation. That's what you hired me for, ma'am. To look into your son's kidnapping last year. To uncover the truth behind the abduction and murder of Harue Shigima. Oh yes, I remember. They never did find the one who did it. That's what I'm here about today. In fact, kind of you to let me drop by so late, by the way. I've been turning over every last stone and I've come up with a grand total of 1 lead.
So you said.
As far as the police are concerned, it's a cold case, but I've managed to make some headway.
I remember. You were just about to tell me.
Shigima kidnapping. The Shigima kidnapping overview. A kidnapping and murder case that took place in Honjo, Sumida, around 1 year ago. Harue Shigima's son, Shuichi, age 11, was kidnapped on his way home from school, with a ransom being demanded that same evening. Initially, the kidnapping was thought of as a simple extortion scheme, but when it came to light that the Shigima family was closely tied to the police, and Shuichi was in fact the grandson of a senior official, it was quickly assumed that the perpetrator was acting upon a grudge against the police force. The kidnapping was treated as a direct attack against the good name of the police, and a large-scale investigation was launched that used the best equipment available to trace phone calls. This made it all the more embarrassing when they were unable to catch the culprit. Losing the public's confidence, the culprit grew cocky, relentlessly mocking the police force. After 3 days of failure after failure, Harue reached a breaking point. Spurred by concern for her son, she resolved to hand over the ransom money as fast as possible. But her husband and father, who held the prestige of the police in high regard, refused, saying that they would not let the criminal win by giving in to their demands. The increasingly frantic detective assigned to the case lost his temper when the criminal called him and gave him an ultimatum, causing the culprit to never make contact again. Another week passed, and Shuichi's body was found floating in the Sumida River. Shuichi's death could be largely ascribed to the police's incompetence, but this was ultimately covered up with stringent media embargoes. The investigation was never closed, but the case was long gone cold. Damn. Poor kid. Persons of interest updated? Oh, hi, old baby. Shuichi Shigima, sex, male, occupation, elementary school student. Kurseko none. The only son of Harue Shigima. He was kidnapped and murdered 1 year ago. His body was discovered floating in the Sumida River. Shuichi was a conscientious, brave young boy who was determined to protect his mother, Harue, amid his father's frequent absences. He dreamed of becoming a police officer and displaying diligence and an impressive sense of responsibility from a young age, likely due to being raised in an extremely strict environment. Born in the early 70s, he spent his days immersed in various activities and studies, including playing piano, learning the abacus, taking English lessons, and training in kendo. Shuichi's tendency to put other people's needs before his own meant he died without ever telling his classmates how much he longed for them all to go out on a hunt for mockingbird stickers. Oh, baby. About the investigation, about the kidnapping, about the rite of resurrection. Let's talk more about the investigation. You know, we still need to figure out exactly what you want me to do. Tell me what, why don't I tell you what? Why don't I tell you what I found, and then we can make a decision. Alright. I suppose there's not much point going over the kidnapping itself.
No, I'm very familiar.
Then I'll leave that for the files to cover, and just confirm a few things about the case. The police traced the culprit's calls back to, let's see here, Northern Oyoko River here in Sumida City. That's quite a wide area.
That's right.
In the end, they never managed to nail down exactly where the call was coming from. But it was almost certainly the same location that Shuichi was being held captive, since Shuichi's voice could be heard during the killer's calls. Northern Oyoko River is quite a distance from Shuichi's normal school commute. Factoring in that he was seen at school but went missing before he arrived at his house, it's likely that he was abducted by car on his route home.
Maybe, but...
Exactly. Shuichi was a clever boy. He never would have got into a car with a stranger.
That's right. I was very firm with him about that. I know he understood too. I even saw him warning the other children.
It's possible that they forced him into the car. The only issue there is there weren't any witnesses to the kidnapping. You can't bundle someone into a car with that many students around and not be noticed. But nobody came forward to say they saw anything suspicious. So did they target him at some other time or somewhere away from his usual route? Both of these seem a little far-fetched, which raises the question, how did the kidnapper pull it off?
The police never managed to find an answer. In the end, they decided that the kidnapper must just have gotten lucky.
Well, why not turn the problem on its head? The kidnapper managed to convince Shuichi to get into the car, but how? The only thing that makes sense to me is if they were somebody that he could have a reason to trust. A teacher, perhaps, or a relative, or somebody else that he knew.
But all the adults Shuichi knew had alibis. The police checked them all thoroughly.
They did, huh? No one throws numbers at a problem like the cops. But what if it wasn't someone he knew, or rather, what if the culprit disguised themselves as a police officer? That would explain why he didn't find them suspicious. The Shigima family has close ties with the police after all. He would have had a reason to trust them.
You might be right. But surely that couldn't have...
Well, there's a problem with that theory. You'd be surprised how much police officers stand out. It's sort of the point after all. They're meant to be visible deterrents against crime. But here's another interesting little bit of trivia I happen to know. When you ask people to imagine someone suspicious, nobody pictures women or children. Even kids who've been warned about stranger danger often subconsciously expect the danger to look like an adult man. Besides, Shuichi was the sort of boy who wanted to be a police officer when he grew up. He must have had a very strong sense of right and wrong.
That's right. Wait, surely you can't mean...
Now you're getting it. If, say, a young woman approached Shuichi asking for help, what would he have done? If someone like that said they were lost and asked him for directions, would he have gotten into a car?
You might have. My husband always told him that a man had a duty to watch out for women and children.
You could certainly argue that kind of attitude is outdated nowadays, but if Shuichi believed it, then he might have something here.
Then you think the culprit was a young woman, but it was a man's voice on the phone.
She might have been an accomplice, or maybe she didn't even realize she was being used. If anything, that would explain why she hasn't come forward. She herself might not realize she had anything to do with the case.
Holy shit. So the question is, did anybody see Shuichi speaking with a young woman on the day of his disappearance? See what I said about people's biases? That goes for witnesses too. And I figured that maybe, if I started asking new questions, I might get some new answers. So I spent my days asking around Shuichi's school route, yeah, that's a word, seeing if anyone had seen something. And one man thought he had. Do you mean he saw it happen? Well, I can't say that for sure. It turned out he wanted something from me, so he asked if we could talk in private. Several hours earlier. Alright, this should do. There's no one around. We can speak in confidence. Excuse me, what was your name again? Jonoichi? Got it. Well, Jonoichi, I'm all ears. Just so we're on the same page. You're a private detective investigating Shuichi Shigima's kidnapping. Do I have that right? Of course. What else do I look like? How should I know what a private detective looks? Oh, forget it. Look, I'll tell you straight. My life is in danger. I need your help. You'll excuse me if that caught me a little off guard. Let me ask you straight. Who is trying to kill you? A student called Nichio Shiraishi. Interesting. A schoolgirl, eh? Sounds like you've been naughty. It's nothing like that. That girl, she's a murderer. I'm the only one who knows, but I saw what she did. Michio Shiraishi. I saw her kidnap Shuichi Shigima. Come again. I saw her talk to him on the street and let him away. I didn't think much of it at the time, but then he went missing. She murdered him, I'm sure of it. Or at least she got something to do with it. That's what you're here for, isn't it? Then you can't let her get to me. If that's true, you've been sitting on some valuable information. Why didn't you tell anybody? Well, you see, if you can't explain that, I don't have any reason to believe you. I couldn't. She told me she'd kill me if I spoke a word. You're telling me a schoolgirl had you scared for your life. So you've been sitting on that all this time, and you think she's coming for you now that you spilled the beans? Yes, that's it, exactly. I'm begging you, don't let her get me. Arrest her, I'm telling you, she's a demon. Well, you seem to believe what you're saying, but it just doesn't add up. How could a schoolgirl have a fully grown man so terrified? You don't know what she can do. She'll curse me. Curse you? I'm sorry, but you're losing me here. It's true. Her house, it's... forget it. Why do I even bother? You seem dubious enough to believe me, but I should have known you'd never understand. Enough. I'll find someone else to help me. Hey. And that's about the long and short of it. I can hardly believe it. At that time, I thought his mention of curses was just crazy talk. But I'm starting to see that there might have been more to it. Then, if we can just find that girl... Curse or no curse, if she was with Shuichi on that day of the kidnapping, then there's a good chance she knows something. On top of that, I did some digging on the man I spoke to. His full name is Kohei Jonoichi. He's a teacher at Komagata High School here in Sumida. A teacher? Then this schoolgirl is one of his students? I think that's very likely. At last, we've got a lead. Hopefully, it will be the breakthrough we're looking for. The Rite of Resurrection, huh? I read about that in an occult magazine the other day. Apparently, some old book showed up recently, with all gory details. And they say that the rite can be found somewhere in Honjo. I remember the first time you told me about that. It felt like my prayers had been heard. Like I had hope. Real hope for the first time. Ever since that awful day, I've wondered, what if I hadn't sent him to school? What if I just paid the ransom? Not a day goes by when I don't think that if I'd done something differently, Shuichi would still be alive. You can't blame yourself, ma'am. It was the culprit's fault, not yours. Though I know that won't help any grief. It's funny like that. I'm guessing that's why you're after the right? Guess I didn't need to ask. It's written all over your face. I can tell how much he meant to you. But, and this is a big but, if this right is the real deal, using it will mean killing someone and stealing their soul. Is that a problem? If it comes to that, I'm afraid I'll have to stop you. Oh, that's a shame. A shame, huh? That's all. I thought, if I'm going to be competing with other curse bearers, then your detective skills might come in useful. You realize you're talking about ending someone's life, right? Don't you see an issue with that? I think any parent in my position would happily kill for a chance like this. That's so, is it? Dear, oh dear, what have I gotten myself into? About the investigation. You know, we still need to figure out exactly what you want me to do. Tell you what. Why don't I tell you what I found, and then we can make a decision. Alright. Oh, okay. So I still need to talk about the other stuff. If it makes you uncomfortable, then you won't have to get any blood on your hands yourself. I don't need you to kill the other curse bearers. I only need you to find them. I won't be party to murder, ma'am. Not even for a client. I'll pay you. How much can I give you to change your mind? Sorry, ma'am, but not everyone has a price. I've got my policies and I stick to them. I see. I didn't realize you were so stubborn. Let me say, though, it's not like I don't get what you're going through. As long as you're not killing anyone with your own hands, maybe I can help you out. What do you have in mind? Well, how about stealing someone else's curse stone after they filled it with soul dregs? If that was all you were after, then I could lend you my services guilt-free. If the other curse bearers want to kill each other, that's their business. I'm not trying to be a hero here. I guess there's no guarantee a stolen curse stone will work, but we can worry about that later. Well then, I suppose we have a deal. Although, what if I stole a curse stone using my curse? Would you disapprove? That would void our contract, ma'am. Just warning you now. My curse. Before we go any further, why don't you tell me about that curse of yours? The haunting clappers, was it? That's one of the 7 mysteries of Honjo, if I remember correctly. That's right. The original story did happen somewhere near here. I think I'm sure I remember hearing that. In that case, my money would be on all the curse bearers being somewhere in Honjo. Our first move should be to narrow them down. Some of them are bound to try and come for you first. We'll need to be ready. The curses make their bearers more willing to kill, so an attack could come from anywhere. That sounds sensible. Oh my god, okay. Okay, so I need to talk about everything else before I can talk about that. Got it. And if I remember correctly, your haunting clappers can set people on fire, but only if they have a naked flame or a lighter on their person. Is that right?
That's right.
In olden times, wooden clappers were used to warn people on fire. I'm guessing it punishes those who don't heed the warning. Seems like a good curse to have. It's simple and straightforward enough to use. Although it's hard to say how it stacks up without knowing what else is on the table. You really think it's that good? The target can't do much to throw it off, and it has a nice long activation window. It's big that it works on lighters too. Just slip one into your target's pocket, and say that condition were already fulfilled before they even knew you're there. They wouldn't even know what hit them. Maybe I won't have to actually use it. I could just tell someone I could, and they'd have to do what I want. That's good work, although without any proof, it'll come down to how convincing you can be. If only you could use the curse, then back out at the last second. At the last second? What an interesting idea. I have a lighter right here. We could try it now. That's an interesting proposition, but maybe not. I'm not quite crazy enough to make myself a guinea pig. Oh, I see. You're an odd one, ma'am. If you don't mind me saying, and I don't think it's just a curse. You flatter. Ooh, hey, there we go. As for what we do next, first of all, I think you should stay indoors. Try not to do anything spontaneous or outside of your normal routine. 10-4. Let's go, boy. Right then. Have you decided what you want me working on? I think she would... Finally, I have a lead. I need to know what happened to my son. Your wish is my command, ma'am. I'll focus all my efforts on looking into the kidnapping. Although, something just occurred to me. You can't investigate the matter at night, can you? At least until the sun rises. Could you search for the other curse bearers? Alright, I see how it is. Well, I'd be happy to help. Odds are good that the other curse bearers are also working by night. Anyone they kill under the cover of darkness won't be discovered until sunrise. I bet they'll be trying to do as much as they can before the morning comes. So it's settled then. I'll look into the other curse bearers by night. And once the city wakes up, I can start asking questions. I'll investigate the kidnapping as well. We can try and find Miss Shirashi as part of the bargain. Thank you. That's more than enough. Now then. I should get to work. There's only so much time before sunrise. I'll call you if I found out anything new. You stay here and keep a lookout. Alright. There's no telling what kinds of curses you might find out on the streets tonight. Don't go outside if you can help it, and try to be ready for anything. I will. Well, if that's all, I should be going. Bye, Richter. Bye, Jojo Man. Okay. So we can either continue her story, or... So, okay. So this is nighttime, and then it goes into day. So, this is at the same time period as when either we send Yoko home or we kill Yoko. I don't think we killed Yoko, but Yoko dies. And then these are at the start of the night. So this is a little after. So this is a little later in the night. Ooh, didn't mean to press that. That's interesting. Interesting. Since we started on hers, let's just continue it. We'll get to the others later. A nice thought. Harue Shigima. Summary of previous events. Despite having obtained the curse of the haunting clappers, Harue Shigima is determined to use the rite of resurrection by stealing the remaining cursed stones. She instructs her private investigator Richter to find the other curse bearers. Harue Shigima. 1 a.m. Shigima Mansion reception room. Damn, are we just sitting here, lady? It's been almost an hour since Richter left. He promised he'd call me if anything happened, but he hasn't. So all I can do is wait and wait. Should I put a record on? No, it's too late for that. I'm not in the mood for music anyway. The flowers put me at ease, just a little. That old hanging scroll. I've seen it too often to feel anything from it now. Oh! What's this? A newspaper. It must have fallen off the chair. Read it. It's a newspaper. I only leave them in here for the guests. I hardly ever read them myself. I don't think I've taken the time to go over one in years, in fact. Well, it's not like I have anything better to do. Let's see. Look at the society. Let's do cultural. Now that everyone has more spending money to go around, people are coming up with all kinds of new diversions. It seems like only yesterday that people were flocking to the arcades to shoot aliens. But now we have these enormous theme parks and gaming machines that plug straight into our televisions. Everyone's talking about superhero series, foreign films, and movies based on the latest bestseller. Back in my day, fusion rock and folk music were all the rage. But now it's all about city pop and idols. Let's go! I found it hard to care about that sort of thing anymore. Okay, so we can read multiple different things if we wanted to. It's a fax machine. I rarely find a use for it. I don't know anybody else who owns one. There's nothing on at this hour. I see no point in turning it on. The ticking seems so loud. It just goes to show how quiet it is. Whee! The bird. Chandelier? My husband used to complain that it was too dark, but I rather like the gloom. I guess we'll keep reading the newspaper. Society. It looks like the city's biggest problem right now is pollution. I remember how the air and water used to be even more polluted. The river was covered in scum from the sewage and industrial waste, and it stank so badly it made my eyes water. Eventually, people started getting sick, and it couldn't be ignored anymore. Fortunately, it's gotten better since then. Although the air around the industrial district is so filthy with gas and smog. Right? Like, what happens if we think? I know it's dangerous to go out, but I can't just sit here and let this opportunity pass me by. I have to look for her from... Oh, okay, but first I need to find more soul drugs. So I can't move, but I can think. Distract myself somehow, maybe reading the newspaper. So we're just reading the newspaper? All sorts of articles about the current state of the economy. Now that the post-war boom has passed its peak, we're moving into the era of large corporations. It's about 220 to 230 yen to the dollar. Manufacturing is on the rise and exports are healthy. The dollar's down from its height and people are saying it could fall further. There's no denying how much the standard of living has improved in the past few years. It's common to own a car and television now. Oh Lord. And supermarkets are better stocked than ever. Education. Everyone attends high school now, even girls. Universal education policy, they call it. The country's gotten rich enough that every child can go to school. Education is the backbone of modern society. If you want to work for a good company, you have to get into a good university. With more people in the running than ever, the competition to get into those universities has gotten fierce, though. The new generation is rebelling. Schoolyard violence and delinquency are on the rise. But my boy was too sensible to get mixed up in any of that. I don't want to read anymore. It'll only remind me of him. Oh, I can look at the table. Come to think of it, I never offered him any tea. Not that I ever learned how to make it. I don't really watch much television. It feels as if all the information in the world gets passed through that little black box. But Father stopped them from reporting on the kidnapping. Back when it happened, I was glad about that. Less fuss. Okay. Am I really just If there's one thing Honjo never wants for, it's horrific crimes. They found a police officer dead in a local park just the other day. A lot of my family are in the police. I hope it wasn't anybody I knew. I don't read the news anymore, not since last year. It brings back bad memories. I could just keep looking at... What? I hear the new big thing is some mascot line of delinquent mockingbirds, I think it's called. Was that what Richter was talking about? Trends have to see... Okay. What happens if I read all of them? Now the comedy boom is over. All the comedians are flocking to other genres. The occult seems really popular at the moment. Look at all these paranormal specials. Okay. Although with everyone flocking to the city, land prices are skyrocketing. Nowadays, most people can only dream of home ownership. The city center is going to be nothing but apartments before long. I'm not exactly a businesswoman, so this all feels like another world to me. Suicide at local high school. Oh, I remember that. A high school girl jumped off a roof about a week ago. She was bullied, I think. Or maybe it was something about exam pressure? What? But... No, this can't be right. Her name. Michio Shirarashi from Komagata High School. It can't be. Michio Shirarashi, the same girl who witnessed my son's kidnapping, committed suicide last week. But that means Mr. Jonoichi was terrified of someone who already died. Is that what he meant by curse? I can't work this out on my own. Maybe Mr. Richter will know. Why won't he call? Well, I haven't left it off the hook, have I? I'm waiting for Richter to contact me, but he hasn't. I made sure the receiver's on the hook. It will ring as soon as he calls. Ah! That must be him. Answer. Hello? Shigima residence? Harue Shigima, 2 a.m. Komagata Bridge. Richard called me out to meet him, and we came here to Komagata Bridge. Look at this boy. Hair flowing in the wind. Richter, there's something I need to tell you. Funny, I was just thinking the same thing. Okay, hold on. There has to be— Bird! Hell yeah! I knew there had to be a bird. Is there another bird? Bird. Birds! Give me the birds! Okay, I don't see any other birds. Damn, Richter. Outfit fly. Okay. Surroundings. Wrong Komagata Bridge. Ooh. What did she say? Wrong Komagata Bridge over the Sumida River. There's a highway on one side and a freeway on the other, but they're both deserted this late at night. One of the bridges spanning the Sumida River completed in 1927. As part of the reconstruction effort following the Great Kanto earthquake, it is notable both for its distinctive blue arches and the cutting edge. For the time techniques used in its construction, there are many bridges stretching across the Sumida River, each boasting a unique structural form and design. We got another bird! So I'm guessing these are all like hints to where you can find them. Is my thing. So we found the pink Punisher. Alright, Richter. He's gazing down at the water. What does he see down there, I wonder? You go first. Please, go ahead. Alright then. I've been poking around places connected to the Seven Mysteries looking for curse bearers, and I think I found a few candidates. First, a tall man I ran into in Kichibori Park. I asked him for directions, trying to poke him a little, but he turned the questions right back around on me. And he was out there the second he figured I wasn't what he was looking for. I got the sense curses were nothing new to him. I'm about 40% sure he's a curse bearer. Then there's this middle-aged guy I saw on South Warigesu Street. There's no question about this one. He had one of the curse stones in his hand. He had a nervous air about him too. It was clear he was up to some shady business. Gathering soul dregs, I bet. He'd make a good target. Next up is a pair, a young man and woman I saw on Ryogoku Bridge. This time the man came up to me and asked me flat out if I was a curse bearer. I told him I didn't know what he was talking about, and he backpedaled and left. Looks like they lurk around there often. Looking for kindred spirits would be my guess. Though, it didn't seem like they were quite working as a pair. Gathering soul dregs in a group might be a decent idea if you can make it work. But with things being how they are, it's got to be hard to find folks one can trust. They've got brass, though. I don't know what their deal is, but I'd like to find out. Last is two detectives I've seen sniffing around. The police are involved? Not necessarily. A body turned up in a local park a few days ago, so they might just be looking into that. Still, the park's got ties to one of the Seven Mysteries. Might be it was a curse that did the guy in. And if they're sitting in detectives from the head office, then something's got to be up. How do you know where they're from? Let's just say that when you're in this business, there are some faces you get to know. Anyway, that's everyone that caught my eye. You found all of them in so little time. I really did hire the best. It's all in the name, ma'am. Rector Kai, P.I. No, wait. Make that Rector Kai, Investigator Extraordinaire. My, an Investigator Extraordinaire. Is that why you can dress like that without drawing attention to yourself? You bet. An Investigator Extraordinaire can blend in like a chameleon in any outfit. How did they not notice him is a great question, because look at this man. This man is a real-life JoJo character. The stand user could be anyone, and they're dressed as Richter Kai. Like, bruh. You bet. Yeah, I already said that. Well, that aside, the middle-aged man and the young couple sound the most promising, am I right? Whichever we pick, it's still too early to make a move. It seems like the cursed bears are less involved with each other than we thought. Plus, there's still others we don't know about. I say we can hang fire and see how things play out. Once more bodies start showing up, that'll get the pot nice and hot. And once it's boiling, our chance will come. There's something I need to tell you. What's up? Well, that girl, Michio Shirashi, the one who was with Shuichi on the day of the kidnapping, that's her. Well, she's dead. She's what? The student who committed suicide last week. That was her. I heard something like that happened. Never got the name, though. Talk about bad luck. We finally get a lead, only to find it's turned into a literal dead end. Unless her death was the whole reason Jonoichi was shaken up. He said she was going to curse him. Was he talking about her taking revenge from beyond the grave? It seems like we're back where we started. Not necessarily. That teacher knows something, I'm sure of it. At the very least, I'd put money on him having something to do with Miss Shirashi's death. That's why he's so scared of being cursed by her. I see. And also, something tells me he knows more about your son's kidnapping. In any case, I think I've got a good idea of what he's hiding. Call it a hunch. A hunch? Well, more of a theory. Okay, to take a guess? I can guess. I can't say for certain, but... What if Mr. Jonoichi sentenced Michio Shirashi with murder? What do you think? I see, so you think Miss Shirashi's death might not have been a suicide. That would certainly give him a good reason to think she'd hold a grudge, but I'm not sure I buy it. That might be a little far-fetched. I see, I'm sorry I disappointed you. I'm not really cut out to play detective. Well, no point dwelling on the speculation, the truth will be out in no time. Right now, I think we need to have another chat with Mr. Jonoichi. Didn't you want to tell me something? I've already said everything I wanted to say. Standing around is the last thing I want to do. This is the only chance to bring my son. I can't afford to fritter away. Okay, he's just gonna... Okay. Am I stuck here? What is this? Is this the end? Oh, I can look at the Sumida River. The Sumida River. The water's filthy and horrid. But at night, when it's still, it looks almost peaceful. Can I ask you something, ma'am? Is the Sumida River what you Honjo folks picture when you think of home? I couldn't say. All I can tell you is that I can hardly stand the sight of it. Right, should have guessed. This is where they found him after he went missing. All alone, floating in that horrible water. All I can think is how scared he must have been. How cold he must have been. What did he ever do to deserve something so awful? I've come here every day since then. And I prayed to the river to give him back. To give me back my son. Day after day after day. You know, in olden times, people believed that rivers marked where our world met the next. So the act of crossing flowing water had a huge amount of spiritual significance. Back when Edo was founded, the people of Chuo saw the Sumida River the same way. He associated the far side of the river with the afterlife. That same place would rather become Honjo. All their fear and revulsion accumulated there and took root. But then the Ryogoku Bridge sprang up after the Great Fire of Meireki. And just like that, Honjo was part of the city too. And it turned from farmland into a town. The people surrounded it with man-made rivers and crisscrossed it with canals and waterways. Weren't those to prevent flooding? That's what I was told. They were, but that's not all they were for. The other purpose was to contain all the corruption that had built up on the far shore and stop it leaking through to our side of the Great Divide. Officially, they were a physical barrier, but unofficially, they were a spiritual one too. So if I have this right, are you saying that Honjo is a place where the real world meets the afterlife? Exactly. That's why the rite of resurrection is here, rather than anywhere else, I'm sure of it. And it's probably why the Seven Mysteries and their curses have survived to the modern day. And I guess that would make this spot we're standing now, right over the water, the border between life and death. If there ever was a place where bringing back the dead might be possible, I reckon it's here. It's funny that you mentioned praying to the river. That might have done more than you think. Is that supposed to make me feel better? Just thinking aloud, man. Well, it's a nice thought. Ooh. Let's see. A Class A river that is part of the Arakawa River system, which runs through much of eastern Tokyo and empties into Tokyo Bay. During the Edo period, Sumida's riverbanks played a key role in the transportation of lumber used for construction. In addition to its logistical importance, it was also a place for the common folk to gather and enjoy activities, such as seasonal flower viewing or river bathing, and there exist many woodblock prints depicting such activities. The area became plagued with sewage issues when the surrounding environs were industrialized in the post-war period. But the situation has improved since. Many unique bridges span the Sumida River, including the Ryogoku and Ozumabashi bridges. Which, I got that word. Which attract a large number of investigators as sightseeing spots. Massive fireworks displays in the summer are also always sure to draw a crowd. I am yawning so much today, Jesus. The river has served as a cornerstone for both the city and its people, having both aided in its development and serving as an inspiring backdrop for countless works of art and literature. Oh, I can look at it again. Oh, that's right. There's one more memory I have of this river. Do you mind if I tell you? Go ahead. It must have been about 20 years now when I was still a schoolgirl. Back then, the Sumida River was much filthier than it is now. It was full of garbage and industrial discharge. It was scummy and slimy and it stank. You could look out over the water and see dead cats and dogs and pigeons just floating. And one day, along all the filth and garbage, there was a piece of my missing classmate's hand. What? It was almost a miracle when you stop to think about it. What were the chances that someone would recognize a part of her hand that was still recognizable? And that, although everything but the palm had rotted away in the water, the part that was left would have an identifiable scar, and that they could tell it had been a murder from the blade marks on the bone. Wait, are you talking about the Nijima murders? So you've heard of it. I'm impressed. I assume you were, an elementary schooler at the time? I wasn't really aware of it then. I only heard about it after the fact. I had no idea that the victim was a classmate of yours. The Nejima murders. Okay. A notorious case from over 2 decades ago involving the murder of a female high school student. It first came to the attention of the authorities when part of a human left hand was discovered floating in the Sumida River. Testing revealed it to belong to a missing female high school student, as it appeared to have been severed deliberately. The police launched a murder investigation. A large-scale search of the river was organized, but the highly polluted state of the water made this impossible. Visibility was poor, the stench was intense, and the divers quickly fell ill. They succeeded in recovering only the victim's head and what appeared to be part of her leg before the search was called off. At the time of the incident, the Sumida River was as polluted as it had ever been. Neither fish nor shellfish could survive in it. eventually causing the annual fireworks festival to be called off indefinitely. Over the course of the search, the police discovered a number of unidentified human bones. This caused a stir among the public as several other young women had gone missing in recent years in the Tokyo area, and it was feared that they may have fallen victim to the same fate. Forensic technologies at the time, however, were not advanced enough to determine the identities of the deceased, and so the police were unable to open any inquiries. Due to the overwhelming lack of circumstantial evidence, the investigation ground to a halt until a hitherto unrelated individual came to its attention. During a questioning about a separate incident, Fumichika Nejima, a 36-year-old shop owner with no relation to the victim, divulged details about her that had never been released to the general public. An investigation into his background was conducted, leading to his arrest. Nejima testified that he had snatched his victim from the street and confined her in the underground storeroom of his shop, which also served as his living quarters. He chose her for no special reason, but simply decided she was an opportune target on seeing her walking alone at night. After keeping her locked up for several days, he restrained her, sewed her mouth shut, and severed her fingers and toes with a box cutter while she was still conscious. As she screamed silently behind her sealed lips and he proceeded to her wrists, her ankles, her elbows, her knees, working his way inward slowly and methodically. His victim constantly wavered in and out of consciousness. Her ordeal continued until she died of blood loss. Jesus Christ. Nejima dismembered the rest of her body and disposed of it behind his home in the Sumida River before cleaning his storeroom and returning to his everyday routine as if nothing had happened. What? Oh, bruv. The brutality of his actions shocked the nation when they were eventually reported. Once apprehended, Nejima readily divulged the details of the murder, but was less willing to explain his motive. When asked, he would only break down in tears, saying, "I don't know what came over me. I know it was wrong." In the end, the police could extract nothing more from him than expressions of remorse, although the efficiency of his methods strongly suggested that he had committed similar crimes in the past. No corroborating evidence ever came to light. Nejima was sentenced to life in prison at his first hearing. The sentence was imposed with no appeal from the defendant. Jesus Christ. Ooh. Oh, God. Oh, he's ugly. He is ugly. Fumichika Nejima. Sex, male, occupation, self-employed, curse, echo, none. The man who made headlines over 2 decades ago as the perpetrator of the brutal killings known as the Nejima murders. God, he is ugly. I see why he was a murderer now. To be honest, it was all a bit of a blur. A wave of chaos just parting around me. Something like that. They said the rest of her body must have sunk to the bottom of the river. They combed the riverbed, but they only ever found pieces. Everything must have rotted and flowed out to sea. Afterwards, I heard that all the divers who had been looking for her fell ill. A sorry story for everyone involved, huh? It's funny. Everyone figures the river is filthy already, so one more piece of garbage won't hurt. But every little bit makes it worse. It's a vicious cycle. I know I wouldn't want to go rooting around down there myself. That's right, which is why the riverbed is the last place anyone would go looking. Or so was the killer's thinking, I suppose. The times were changing quickly back then. Things were confusing. Everyone seemed to be in a hurry. Young people were moving to Tokyo in droves. Some even ran away from home to make it in the big city. And they made easy targets for bad people. A lot of them ended up disappearing without a trace. You see, back then, if you chopped up a body into tiny pieces and threw it in the river, it would rot quickly and discreetly and sink to the bottom, never to be seen again. Are you saying what I think you're saying? They arrested him shortly after, Fumichika Nejima, the man who killed my classmate and cut her into pieces. He was so methodical about it. It couldn't have been his first crime. And people began to wonder how many other girls he'd murdered the same way. Police never found any evidence of other murders in the end, but the river knows the truth. How many corpses has it swallowed up over the years, I wonder? The same thoughts spread through everyone's mind, and they start to avoid this area. So really, this river has been rank with corruption for decades now. Or at least that's how it seems to me. Well, was that interesting? Well, I can see why you don't have any good memories of this river. With all that darkness lurking beneath the surface, there's no reason that you would. Still, if I may, ma'am, I'm surprised you know so much about the Nejima murders. But how could I not? After all, I was the one who found the hand.
Jesus Christ.
The police actually wrote me a thank you letter. They said it was only thanks to me that they managed to bring Nejima to justice. That was the only time my father ever said he was proud of me.
Huh.
I guess it just wasn't the killer's day. Sometimes I wonder if he resents me for it. The Sumida River. I have nothing but awful memories of it.
Jesus Christ.
Is something wrong? Not really, it just struck me. It's been 20 years since the Nejima murders. So it has. Not to spook you or anything, but I thought you might be interested in knowing. Life in prison doesn't always mean life. There's precedent for first-time offenders being allowed out on parole after 20 years. Only if they're found to show remorse and the desire to reform themselves, of course. That's right, I'm impressed you know so much. Still, it's hard for someone with a criminal record to reintegrate into society. I hear they've been trying to fix that recently with matching inmates with jobs and accommodation. Oh, really?
They keep an eye on them, of course. I'm dying so much today. Jesus. They keep an eye on them, of course, and make them report in for regular checkups. But to avoid discrimination, they keep the inmates' records a secret from everyone but their employers. They even give particularly notorious criminals new identities so they won't be recognized in the workplace.
My, the way you put it. It's like you're saying Fumi Chika Nejima could be out on parole right now. Back in society, under a new name with nobody any the wiser.
It's possible. As it happens, a little birdie told me about a big name making parole a few months back. I don't know if it was Nejima, but our discussion just now did bring it to mind.
I see. How unsettling.
Now that you mention it.
I just remembered something too.
What was it?
I was passing Komagata High School a little while ago when I saw someone. A janitor, I think. I could have sworn he reminded me of Fumichika Nejima.
Oh?
He looked a little different after 20 years. Much thinner than I remembered, too. I told myself I was just seeing things. But perhaps it was him after all.
What in the Sam hell?
So, what's next?
The big question now is what the rest of the curse bearers are up to. Luckily, the Sumida River is a good distance from any of the Seven Mysteries. It's unlikely the other curse bearers will come all the way here. I can finally have a moment to think.
I see. Alright.
Oh, shit. Okay. You cannot currently progress any further. Once your situation has changed, select resume to try again. Pressing suspend will turn you to the story chart. That's interesting. Well, I think we've been going for a good amount. There it goes. We've been going for a good amount. I think this is an okay place to stop. Yeah. I'll see you all whenever I next stream. There it is. Oh, wrong thing. I'll see you guys whenever I next stream. I do enjoy this game a lot. It's just a very long one. So I'll definitely be breaking it up into more parts. Yeah, I think an hour 30 is fine. The first stream was extremely long, mainly just because I wanted to get the first part of the story completely done in one, so we could get to the story chart and then continue with the actual main story for the rest of the time. But yeah, I hope if anybody watches this that they have fun, because I certainly have fun playing this game. It's a lot of story
Haruhe's story is... It's very slow at first. Clearly. But she gives you a lot of story. She gives you a lot of interesting stuff going on. Like, she tells you about Nejima. You learn about the girl who committed suicide, which we'll learn more about her later once we actually go to one of the other characters. Yeah. So, next time on this game, I will be playing one of the other characters, either the detective or the high school girl. I'm probably gonna go with the high school girl, mainly because she gives some more story to what goes on with Haruhe. Alright? Yeah, I'll see y'all when I next see ya. Bye!